Good afternoon. My name is John Daggett. I'm the manager of cooperative education and career success, and I'm also the head coach of the rugby team here at Georgian College. You have to bear with me today as I'm working through a new set of bifocals. So if my glasses are on and off more than you would think, it's my old eyes are getting to me. I want to thank you everybody for coming today to our first getting ready to graduate event. It's something we've been hoping to do for quite some time, and it's great to see it come together. Just as we get started, I want to take you on a bit of a personal path here before we go any further. Georgian College acknowledges that all campuses are situated on the traditional land of the Anishinaabe people. The Anishinaabe include the Odawa, Ojibwe, and Potawatomi nations, collectively known as the Three Fires Confederacy. Georgian College is dedicated to honoring Indigenous history and culture, committed to moving forward in the spirit of reconciliation and respect with all First Nation, Métis, and Inuit people. For me, this commitment is really hits home. Regardless of where I am in life, whether I'm a coach or where I am as a manager or as a dad, I live my life. I try to live my life by certain values and principles. And those values and principles are really about a collective that we work together, and the team always comes first. Through there, we look at through honesty and trust and respect, integrity, and through that, we build knowledge. And I've had, regardless of how you kind of look at success, I've had success with that kind of philosophy and following those principles as close as I can. And I've shared those with people because I really thought that I've really found a bit of a formula here that can work. And then through my own journey and my own discovery, I started reading the 7 grandfather teachings. And of course, in there, everything that I thought that I came up with was already laid out to me. Right? It was already there. I just had to open my eyes. So when we talk about honesty, it's already there. We talk about humility and putting the team first. It was already there. Bravery, and to have integrity, you must be brave. And that was already there. And truth and respect, and of course, wisdom that comes with all of that. And the one that I hadn't added, but maybe I should do it more intentionally, was love. And that's, through my own readings, thinking, okay, I didn't come up with anything. It was already there for me to discover. I just needed to open my eyes. And it's been an incredible journey. I'm very honored by that as well. So yeah, take from that what you will. But for me, it's been an incredible journey and want to continue to follow. Thank you. I want to just take a moment as we get seated today, once again, to thank everybody for coming and to thank the team that's put this together. It's been a lot of work over the last couple of months, and people have done great work. So thank you. I'll move along. One of the best things about being an MC is you don't have to speak very much. So I'm going to move along. I'm going to introduce you to our president and CEO, Kevin Weaver. Kevin, please.
Thank you, John, and appreciate the personal reflections on your journey as well, and truly appreciate that. Good afternoon, everyone. Ane Sego Tanshe, which for those that have heard me speak will know that means hello in Ojibwe, Mohawk, and Métis, and great to be with you. For those in person, I also understand there's some watching online as well, so wonderful to be here with you to share some remarks. And I was reflecting on, I wish I had something like this when I was getting ready to graduate, because I felt like that day just hit, and I probably should have absorbed more leading up to and preparing for that. So congratulations to all of you for being here and in engaging in the discussion. So after I speak, and I'll try not to take too long, I think what you're going to find really interesting is being inspired by 3 of our alumni who are back today, and they've graduated at kind of different time frames, and they'll be able to share their experience as a graduate and what they've done in their journey. But I'll share a little bit about my journey, and in the hopes that perhaps it helps in some way as well, because what's unique about career paths is there is no recipe, there's no template, there's no right or wrong way. And I think what you're going to find is it's really up to you to determine the path that suits you best. And that'll change over time. And I'll share a little bit of my journey, and perhaps you'll see, and if you can figure out my path, come and talk to me after. I guess it's worked out well, but it's not linear, and it wasn't necessarily predictable, and I think those things are okay. First off, I want to congratulate all of you for almost making it to the finish line. I know we're on the home stretch of this semester. It's always a busy time in the semester, so again, appreciate that you've taken time for this. I have every confidence you'll be successful in completing, and I look forward to seeing all of you cross the stage in June at Convocation, which is just a wonderful celebration of your great achievements and all that you've put into it. Believe it or not, it wasn't that long ago I was a student myself. I've completed 3 different credentials, and I'll talk a little bit about them as I go, but my most recent credentials was a master's degree. And I know in each one of my credentials, I know the amount of work and effort that it takes, dedication, perseverance. You're juggling a lot of things. Some of you are juggling family commitments, jobs, sometimes sports, extracurricular clubs, plus the high quality and high expectations we have on all of you as Georgian students, and we do that not because we're trying to make life hard for you. We're doing that because we want you to be successful. That's our goal, and you're going to hear from 3 alumni today who will share a bit of their journey and hopefully their reflections on how Georgian helped them all along that path. And I look back to all 3 of my experiences, and I did it at 3 different institutions, and each one of those experiences is helped shape who I am today, and has built a little piece of me in terms of learning and lifelong learning, but also the characteristics and attributes that I believe are so important in serving others. And I'm a big believer in servant leadership, and we're all leaders. And you know, I happen to have a title that you know, people would say, well, by definition, I have to be a leader, but the title doesn't matter. We are all leaders. We all have a role to play in whatever we do, and that could be in volunteering, and that could be in your job. And so I hope you take those experiences with you, and take them with deep commitment to continue on in your journey. So be proud of your investment, of your time, energy, finances. It's a big commitment that you've put in, and you should be very proud. And certainly Georgian is proud of you. We're absolutely proud of each and every one of you. You're really the reason we survive and exist and thrive as an institution. It's your success. Your success is our success, which is why when you look around the room, you see a lot of what I call Team Georgian. You see a lot of us wearing our Grizzly gear today as it's Grizzly Day. But just look around, and every single one of these individuals is here because they believe in the work we do to support students, and in your case, soon to be graduates. And I think that's what makes this place so special. So change is one of the constants in life. There's always going to be change, and you're nearing that place where you change from being a student and then going on to whatever the next step takes you, and that could be another credential, that could be the workplace, that could be to travel. Regardless of what that is, you're coming up on the precipice of change, and that can be intimidating, and sometimes it can be quite scary as well. But change is also an opportunity to stretch us, to force us to grow a little bit, to help us expand beyond our horizons, and that's how I tend to view change, and I hope you'll embrace it too, because it's an exciting time. It's a nervous time, no question, and some of you may already know what that next step is, and you may have your job secured, which is wonderful, and you may also be thinking you're not ready to commit to what that next step is, and that's okay too. Everyone has to do what feels right for them. But what I want to encourage you to do is to begin this journey, this next chapter, with curiosity and an open mind and an open heart, because I think that's going to help you find your passion and your place in the world as you begin your career. And there's no such thing as, I'll talk about, I don't believe anymore of finding necessarily a job with a company and then working a 30, 35 year career with that company. It still happens. In fact, in about a month's time, we'll celebrate that right here at Georgian, and we're going to celebrate some employees that have been here for 40 years at Georgian, and 35, 30, 25, and 20. It's absolutely incredible. But we also know that that's the world is a little bit different now, and that may not be your journey. So don't be afraid to take those risks, change your direction in your career if that's the right thing for you. And sometimes you may go down a path that isn't successful for you, and that's okay too. So, you know, those are failures of a different kind, failures that teach us great life lessons, and I've had some of those in my journey as well, and I've learned from each and every one of those. So from my own experience, you know, there will be a lot of change, and I'll just give you a sense of that. So I've been working about 25 years since I left as a full-time post-secondary student. I've worked for 6 different organizations, and I've had 10 different positions. Probably 12 or 13 if I really, you know, got picky on those position changes. And I also ran my own consulting firm for a stretch. Because I was in my early years trying to figure out what the right path was for me. Each of those jobs, and keep in mind with each job, typically that comes naturally with a boss, unless you're your own consultant. That helps to be your own boss too sometimes. But each of those with a boss. So I learned along that journey what I liked, what I didn't like. I learned the type of organization that I thrive in. I learned what type of boss I worked best with. And I also learned a couple bosses that I didn't work so well with. And, you know, a mentor of mine early on said to me, life is too short. And if you're not happy at work, it's going to be hard to be happy at life. And you think about that. And at first, when I was leaving school, I needed a job. I don't know if you're in that boat. I was in a boat. I needed a job. I needed a paycheck. And that's what I did. I took a 6-month contract, was my very first job. And I moved 8 hours to Northern Ontario, to Sault Ste. Marie. If you've ever been, it's a beautiful place. If you haven't, you should go visit. And I moved up there for 6 months, and I thought, well, it's a job. I'll get my feet wet. Always easier to find a job once you have a job. You'll learn that in your career. And so I thought, well, that'll get me a start, and then I'll find something back near my hometown. And long story short, I ended up in Sault Ste. Marie for about 8 years. My girlfriend, who became my fiance and my wife now, moved up with me, and actually both my kids were born in Sault Ste. Marie, and I took several jobs, and I ended up actually in the college system through that. So, you know, it just goes to show you that small 6-month contract was just the urgency to get a job, and my parents were on me to get a job. And so I got a job, and one thing led to another, and I've kind of never looked back on that. But I also had to make some bold moves in my career, and I thought I would just share those with you. And you know, there's small lessons in there, and I'll share when I kind of just summarize what I think the takeaways of those are. So in the early 2000s, I mentioned I was in Sault Ste. Marie. Both our children were born. My daughter was only about 6 months old. And our family, my wife and our family, were back down south, so about a 7.5-hour drive. And so we both felt it was kind of time for family reasons that we went back closer to family. And, you know, this is one of the lessons there is when I say it's what you have to do what's important to you, you have to think of your values. What matters most to you at any point in life? And for me at that time, having 2 young children, family was it. That was it. Family's still very important to me. You don't lose that. But for me, that was everything. So I had a full-time job. I was actually a full-time professor at Georgian College in Sault Ste. Marie. And I happened to be at a conference, and I talked with this CEO who just ignited a passion in me in a conversation, a 15-minute conversation. And I left that conversation, and they had a job opportunity. They liked what my experience was. My background is geographic information systems, computer mapping, cool stuff back then. Now it's kind of everywhere. It's still cool, but it was cool before it was cool, mainstream cool. And they needed my skill set. It was back in Southern Ontario. The catch to the job is it's a startup company. They had an angel investor. So I was smart enough at the time to ask the question, are you looking, do you have an exit strategy? So for those of you that know, in the startup world, sometimes you build a company and you build your intellectual property, and your goal is for somebody else to acquire the intellectual property. You make money, and everybody, in essence, goes their own way. So the answer was yes. We have an exit strategy. We have an angel investor, and he's given us 3 years to build the IP, sell the company. So I went back to the Sioux after that conference, and I said to my wife, I think I have a plan for us to go south. And she said, okay, what's the plan? Well, I think I have a job for potentially up to 3 years. And then what? I don't know. We'll figure it out from there. So I took that job. So I quit a full-time. It's kind of crazy when I look back on it, but I felt that was the right thing for me, my career, most importantly for my family. So I took that job, and long story short, we built the IP. I thought we did a pretty good job of it. We sold the IP to a company in the US, and I was one of 3 remaining employees at the very end. We got everyone else work, and near the end I had to figure out what's next. So I took a contract, back to contract work, took a contract with a company, just wanted to feel them out. They wanted to feel me out a little bit. And then I got tapped on the shoulder because there was a job at Fanshawe College. Came from the college sector, had some expertise, and a headhunter tapped me on the shoulder and went through that process. And anyway, I ended up at Fanshawe College for about 5.5 years. And that leads me to my second fairly big, bold move, which has worked out really well. And that was my move here. So again, full-time job, salary, benefits. My wife was working, family, kids are in school, friends, everything around us. But I had hit a point at that particular job. And by the way, none of these stories are about the institutions. I will say that. I loved every single institution I was in. And in post-secondary, I live and breathe post-secondary. I love the mission and mandate. But I just felt in the role I was in, I felt I had more to give. I needed to find more opportunity because, again, back to that statement, if you're not happy in your job, and I take that further because it's not just about happiness, it's about fulfillment. You want to feel engaged, you want to feel passionate. I wake up every morning, drive to the college, and I'm excited about the day. Not all days are, events like this and, smiling days. There's tough days too, but you want to feel good about what you're contributing. And so in 2014, I applied. I came here as the Dean of Technology and Visual Arts, moved my family, picked up my family. I know some of the Team Georgian has heard this story before, and that's a tough thing to do. When I had to tell both my children we were moving, and of course, my advice is you want to be careful how many people you bring into the tent on these things until it actually is time and it happens. There was a lot of tears. I felt about this big for a couple of days. It's hard when you're ripping your family up from their roots. But I also knew that, we have a strong family. My wife is just outstanding. And I knew they'd settle, and they did. And kids are also more resilient than we think. And so sometimes that change is good. You have to embrace it, and we did. And 9.5 years later, here I am. I've had several positions at Georgian. But when I look back, and if you can find a path in all of that, I've been a professor, I've been a spatial data analyst, I've been a dean, I've been a chair, I've been a project manager, I've been a product manager, I've been 2 different vice presidents, and now a president. Private sector, public sector, consulting. There's no path. There's no linear path. It's more like a river. It's a journey. It's a journey to get where you want to go. But each step I look at, and that would be my advice to you as you get out, is each step you look at is do what feels right to you. Follow your heart, follow your passion, but also know that nowhere along the line are you ever locked in, that you control your fate and you control your destiny. And I think that's really important. And I know everyone in this room has a story, and you're going to hear three phenomenal stories coming up about three alumni journeys as well. So there's lots I hope you can take from that, and I hope it helps you in some way, that there is no certainty. There is no right or wrong way. It's a feeling, it's a personal decision. But please reach out to those that are around you. Use your support network. If you don't have a mentor, I really encourage you to find a mentor. And those mentors will change over the years. I have not had the same mentors for 25 years. I have some wonderful mentors now, and some of them are new in the last couple of years because of change of roles and jobs. But I still have some individuals that I know I can call on, that they're there. They're an ear. I can talk to them about things. But you need those mentors in your career, whatever your career is, and whatever level, even if you're just starting out. It's tremendously powerful. You also have classmates. You've got classmates you're graduating with who are also going through these journeys, and lean on them, rely on them. It's really important. So wherever your credential takes you, one of the things we know is it's going to open doors for you. And sometimes it'll open more doors than maybe you're ready for, because there is lots of opportunity out there. This is a great time for you to be graduating and enter the job market. We need bright minds in all sectors, in all parts of our in our economy. So this is a great time for you to be able to find your place and do what makes you happy. I also know that in addition to your vocational skills, you've acquired so many other skills. And the reason I shared a little bit of my story is, the one thread I can tell you is a lot of my technical expertise that I learned many years ago, I used in some of the jobs, but it's the transferable, and you've heard this word, transferable skills, employability skills, professional skills, skills of the 21st century. Call them what you will. There's lots of labels for it, but it's about resilience. It's about understanding the human connection. It's about empathy. It's about decision making, critical thinking. All those things will carry you regardless of the type of job you have and regardless of those technical skills. I'm learning all the time about new technical skills. Technology changes. Lots changes around us, but those core foundational skills will serve you well. And I know I hope you've leveraged the opportunity at Georgian to acquire those skills, and I know you're getting them in your programs, and I know there's lots of opportunity for you outside of them as well. I just want to kind of leave you with this, that there's always a connection here to Georgian College as you graduate. And again, your alumni may share that as well. You see the people around the room here to help. We're always here. We're part of your family. We're part of your fabric. I mentioned I graduated from 3 institutions. So let me just walk you through that briefly. I am a college graduate myself. I graduated from Fleming College. At that time, it was called Sir Sanford Fleming College. I finished a university degree. I thought I knew what path I was going to go on. And then about 3rd year, 2nd semester, I met a professor who changed my whole world view on things, and he introduced me to a different path, and I followed that path, and I realized at the end of my degree that if I wanted a job, I needed this practical experience that college education gives us. That's the reason I'm here, full circle. It's because without the college credential, I wouldn't have got the job. That initial contract I got because I had a college credentials focused on vocational skills. So really, really critical and critically important. But I will say all 3 institutions, I get newsletters, I'm connected with in some way. And I think it's really important that you stay connected with us. And we want to stay connected with you. So you can share with us your stories. You can participate as you expand your career and you want to give back in program advisory committees. We have an alumni executive council. There's lots of ways to get engaged. Be an alumni speaker like our three alumni today. But think about ways that you can give back to future students, because I think that connection and that cycle is also really important. So I mentioned some of the ways to connect, and I'm sure others will speak a little bit more about those opportunities as well. I mentioned your stories. There's so much power in stories, and when I hear stories of some of our alumni, it just, it makes me extremely proud. And I know each of you will have those stories. You're starting to write the first chapter as you near graduation, and so please stay connected. You also never know, this is an important lesson, you never know how your story may impact somebody. So it's important to share that, your journey. You all got here because you had a passion for your program, you've got an interest in your career, and so don't be afraid to share those stories. I want to hear your successes, your growth, the impact you're making in your workplace and your community. And don't forget to give back to your community in some way, whatever way that is. That doesn't have to be financial, but I strongly encourage you, wherever you settle, think about ways that you can engage in your community. I'm excited for all of you to get to hear from our three alumni in the panel, so I'm going to stop talking now. It was a pleasure to share a little bit of my story. Hopefully it's helpful in some way. The team asked me if I'd share. I've shared more detail with you online and in this room than, quite frankly, I think I've shared since I've been at Georgian. But that it's fun to do that. It was a little bit fun actually for me to reminisce, and you'll have those opportunities to create your own story, your own journey. We're proud of you. I know you'll be successful in whatever you do. If you need support in any way from Georgian, please reach out. You'll always be a part of the Georgian family. I wish you all the best. Thank you. Chi Miigwech.
Thank you, Kevin, for sharing your journey and some words of wisdom and some lessons through that. That was great. Love the fact, 2 points you talked about, or 3 points. One, change is constant. That is inevitable. Love that. Also really appreciate the fact you talked about leadership just briefly. Leadership is not a title. Leadership is an action. So don't ever forget about that. So regardless of where you are, you can always be a leader. And I think that's important for people to know and understand as well. And then the last one was you talked about mentors. I find as I get older, I turned 54 last week, that most of my mentors are getting younger. So mentors are not always people that are older than you. Younger mentors help me stay connected with this wonderful group of people that we work with every day. So something to keep in consideration. I want to invite our panelists up. Jen Davies, who's Director of Co-op Career and Experiential Learning, is going to come and moderate a panel for 3 wonderful alumni that we have today. I have close relationships with a number of them, but I'm going to let Jen introduce them. So come on up, please. And Jen, I'll give you the microphone.
I love sitting in. All right, we're ready to go. Hello, folks. My name is Jen. I'm the Director of Co-op Career and Experiential Learning. And at some point, I'll share with you, not today, but my career story where experiential learning, the internship that I had to do as part of my key piece of education, changed the entire direction of my career. And we may hear some of that as well in our alumni stories today. But first, what I'd like to do is have our alumni introduce themselves. So maybe we can just start over here on my right. Edwin, can you please introduce, who you are, what program did you graduate from, and anything else you think the group should know about you today?
Hey, my name is Edwin Sarfo. I graduated here at Georgian College, of course, here in marketing, as well as business administration, the advanced diploma. While here, worked in the athletic department, played on the rugby team, coached by the wonderful Don Daggett, biggest mentor I have in my life to this day. Thank you.
Thank you. And Biddy, you've got a microphone there. Can I ask you to introduce yourself again with your program and anything else you'd like the group to know?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Vidhi Sodwadia. I graduated from 2021 as a computer programmer, and I was part of computer programming course. Currently, I work as a senior data analyst at RBC, and I joined the company as a co-op student. So there was a lot of internship and career roles that I started from here, and now this is where it led me to.
Same question for you, Avery.
Hi, everyone. My name is Avery Konda, and I graduated from the Environmental Technology Diploma, a 3-year program, and then I did the 1-year Indigenous Studies Schema Con program as well. And I've done a number of things, to be honest, kind of career-wise, but first it was working on the Georgian College Student Association. Did that for a number of years, and then a couple entrepreneurial startups. I worked with them as a consultant, and now I'm a manager with Randstad. So we help people find jobs in various industries as well.
Awesome, Avery. Hang on to that microphone. I'm going to ask I'm going to ask you to tell us a little bit about 1 or 2 of your key learning moments that you've had since you graduated from Georgian.
I think the biggest one for me is that people might not remember what you do for them, but they remember how you make them feel. Especially now, and especially when times are hard, right? We went through a pandemic, right? We're coming out of it in a very different way, but people remember how you make them feel. And if you can treat them with, dignity and respect, and remember that we're all human at the end of the day, whether it's a service, whether you're providing something that someone needs, we're all human, right? We're not robots. And so that's my number one, is just remember that people will always remember how you make them feel. They'll never forget that part. The second one is that I follow something called the 80-20 rule. And so the idea is that if you can do something right 80% of the time, the other 20% doesn't really matter. So don't burn yourself out. Don't work 100% all the time. It's impossible. Again, we're human. And so that was a big lesson for me, is that if you can do it right 80% of the time, give yourself credit for the other 20% of the time and enjoy yourself. Right? It's not always, you don't always have to be on hyperdrive. So yeah, those are the 2 biggest lessons for me.
Thank you. And if I can ask Biddy the same question, what are some of the biggest learning moments that you've had since you graduated from Georgian?
I think the first one that I would like to share is going to college is not just about learning. It's about making connections, not just with your mentors or your friends, but in general connection. Because coming back today, I realized I have seen so many of them, but I've never actually met them. And I think it's nice to be connected to people, your friends. And I think during once you graduate, once you start working, I think these are the people, like your friends, your family. These are the ones that will help you go through that after 5 time. And the second thing I would like to share is I think it's a very basic one, but I love asking questions. So asking question is something that I did during my college, and that is what helped me in my career too, because you don't learn 100% at college. You have to learn so much when you graduate, and once you have a habit of asking questions, it leads you to your work, and you keep on doing it. So that's a good habit to have, and I would suggest that keep asking questions. And no question is a stupid question. So yeah.
I'm a realtor based out of Simcoe County here. Our office is just on Lakeshore there. But the 2 key things that I've definitely taken away after college, one is just for myself is just being a man of my word, or person of your word. Because as time goes on, especially in my field as a realtor, at least everyone here knows at least one other realtor. So what sets me apart is me being a person of my word, telling you if I'm going to get this done, I get that done. Right? There's nothing to sway from it. During my time after I graduated from here at Georgian, I went on to university. Things got tougher, things were a little harder, but it was a level of accountability that I had on myself, saying things out loud. There was times where I'm not feeling to go to class. You said you're going to class, you got to hold yourself accountable, and that stuff is a very transferable skill when you get to the work life. Right? So before I became a realtor, because we had that COVID break, I was working landscaping. So now landscaping, I'm up at 6:30. Sorry, I'm at the site at 6:30. So now I got to be up at 5:45. All this time, it's accountability. The one time I was late, the boss just looked at me and it's just all like, "You said you were going to be here. Are you a man of your word or what? Because if not, we can just let you go." That right there was a fire, was that spark, that turnkey for me. That's like, this is a real life. There's no one here to really hold your hand in a sense, because life has to go on. So that part really helped me. The second thing was, as she had mentioned, networking. Networking, going to events like these, you know, getting your face out there, shaking hands, you know, getting exchanging phone numbers, social media, that will go a long way, because you don't know who you'll meet down the road in 2 to 3 years, where it's like, oh, this guy's doing this, I might need his help for this. She's in this field. Not too long ago, I ran into an old friend who now works for CTV. She worked for CTV, and in the beginning, she was at school for nursing. So, and how she got that job was one of her patients worked at CTV. From there, they connected, talked, and said, "Hey, do you want to work here?" So things just miraculously just end up happening. So networking is a huge thing.
Thanks for that, Edwin. And so a lot of what I'm hearing, I'm not sure what themes you're hearing, a lot of what I'm hearing is about the importance of people, right? Avery started us off driving home the point that we are all human beings, and to remember our own humanity, but also to remember that the folks that we're working with are human. So I have one more question, and then we can open it to the floor in case folks might like to throw a question to our panelists, if that's okay with our panelists. Yeah. You okay with that? We'll see. All right. You can always reserve the right to pass. How about that? So my next question for you is, and Evan, I'll throw it to you first. What's something you wish someone had told you when you were graduating from Georgian or your degree?
Someone had told me. I think the biggest thing I wish someone had told me was the college or the university is still there for you. Because I was one of the COVID grads in 2020 from the University of Guelph. And at the time when I was living there, all my roommates had moved out. So it was just me there by myself in this house, couldn't do nothing. And not sure about anybody else, but I myself, I was getting lost. I was going a little cuckoo. And I thought to myself, like, I have no one here, until like I got this email from the university saying, hey, like, if there's other students going through it, we can help you. And as time went on, I leaned a lot on the university to help me through this time. So that's definitely one of the biggest things mentally I wish someone had told me ahead of time, because it would have helped prepare me for other things down the road. Now, I was also grateful enough to have a great mentor like John to lean on as well. Yeah, that would probably say one of the biggest things. Someone told me ahead of time.
I wish my friends, not friends, sorry. I wish my teachers and everyone would have forced me to attend these events when I was in college. I didn't attend as many events as I should have. I think once you start attending them, you see why people ask you to go and network. And now that I'm back, I see there is so much effort that people put into for students. And if I was been forced to do that, I think I would have much more connections than what I have already. So during not just college, but I think at work too, when you guys go at work, when you have events at work, I wish you get so many connections that people come to you for, you know, job opportunities, because that's what I would want. And I would want people to come to me to say, hey, I have this opportunity, do you want to work? And I think that's a good networking, and I suggest everyone to attend the events in future too.
Big thanks.
I think for me, the biggest thing I would have liked to have known is just how important mentorship is. I had a lot of mentors, and they've helped me consistently in every way. It doesn't matter whether it was business or personal, in everything, but just how important they are. And every person needs a mentor, right? And again, like John had said, it doesn't matter the age, but it's mentorship will help springboard you to other things. So it doesn't, it helps you grow, but it also helps you find things that you probably wouldn't have been able to find on your own. So I think a key takeaway from that, if I could give anything to you guys, would be find a mentor, but don't restrict yourself to a certain type of person or a certain industry. That mentor can be anywhere, it can be anyone, and then really rely on them, learn from them, be open-minded to it, and kind of start from the ground zero, right? Like you don't know anything at that point, and let them teach you. That's going to really help you kind of find that path and really really grow as well through mentorship.
So as you think about what you might like to hear, I'm gonna, Avery, don't put the mic down. I'm gonna preempt might be one of your questions. How have you found mentors in the past? Because there's so many different ways that you might find someone. How have you found your mentors?
Yeah, I mean, I can credit it to a mentor I had my first year of college, actually. First year of college, I was living in the on-campus residence, and I was a little lost, to be honest with you. I didn't really know what I wanted to do, where I wanted to go. And one of the RAs became a really good friend of mine, and he kind of just gave me good advice. He said, just go for it, just do it. Right? The anxiety is there, but at the end of the day, people like when you reach out to them. We want to help each other out. And so I've kind of just followed that simple philosophy of just kind of go for it, right? If you want someone to help you, or you see that person and say they can give me, they can help me out, they can give me guidance, just ask them, right? 9 times out of 10, they're going to say yes, and the one time they don't, maybe they're mentoring 10 other people, but usually people want to mentor. So it's a simple philosophy, but really just go for it, right? Get over that first step of anxiety, and then after that, it's very, very, very easy.
Awesome. And I'm going to throw it back to Edwin, and Vidi, if you want to add, you can. But Edwin, you mentioned Coach Daggett is a mentor of yours. Can you speak a little bit more about mentorship in your career so far?
Mentorship in my career has come from many avenues. So he was definitely my first ever real mentor from the rugby field on and off the pitch. Helped me understand and get the bearings of school, and then even after school. Finding a mentor, in my opinion, isn't easy, only because, as Avery mentioned, yes, you want to be open to different mentors, but some of the mentorship styles may not work with you. As much as you want to be fluid like water, as Bruce Lee says, sometimes there's a little bit of a clash, right? I've personally had great mentors, and I'm lucky to have them, no doubt about it.
Thank you. Vidi, did you want to say anything about mentorship?
During my first year of college, when I was trying to find a co-op, my co-op coordinator, Beth Salt, I don't know if she works here anymore or not. I went to her crying. I was like, everyone is trying to find a job. How am I going to get one? And then she said, you just have to keep applying. And I'm not trying to give any advice right now, but I think her consoling me was something that I took very, very seriously. And I was like, if someone else has faith in me, I think I should have faith in myself. And I think mentors change over time, but it's upon you on how you chose to take their advice and how you put into your life. So yeah, that's.
Thank you. So if I could ask all the Georgian team members to just maybe wave here, because what Vidi has identified is, come on, put your hands up. There are mentors already here that you still have access to, all right, while you're still here and even afterwards. So please do take advantage of the mentors who are actually here and still happy to connect with you. So does anyone have a question that you would like to ask one or all of our panelists? Yeah, Nate, go ahead, and I'll repeat it in the microphone. Okay, so I'm going to paraphrase. So I don't know what my next step is. What advice do folks have on figuring out what that next step is? Anyone want to take that one? Yeah? We can all take it.
Here's a simple one for me as well. I want to break things down simply because there's a lot of things out there, but the best way that I was able to find what I was good at was by testing things. So it's going to be a hard answer because what I'm going to say is you have to kind of try multiple things to find what you like, but you have to do it in action, right? People can give you advice. They can say, this is what you're good at. This is your skills. You won't know till you do it. And the example I'll give is I studied environmental technology. Then I worked in entrepreneurship, and I didn't find out I was good at sales and just being with people until I started doing it, right? And then I said, wow, I love this. But someone could have told me 5 years ago, you'll be good in sales, and I would have said, okay. But not till I did it till I really find out that it was good for me. So it's going to be testing, to be honest. Whether, and again, your career path changes, right? So if you do something for 6 months, it doesn't matter if it's not for you. You can find something else, right? There is so much support in the community, especially with Georgian as a Georgian grad. There are so many companies willing to work with you. You're going to find what you're good at, but it's going to come through testing that over time.
Yeah, and to kind of go on what he was saying, the one thing that I learned as I was becoming an agent was I called over 50 different realtors just to get an idea, and like young realtors, old realtors, everybody, just to get an idea of what this career is actually like, right? So that's one thing I would really recommend you do is whatever field that you have the most interest in, call those companies, call the supervisor, doesn't matter who is in that role, call them. Ask them if you could have a sit-down meeting with them and break down what the everyday looks like. What do you guys do here? And if it's actually going to work for you, because if it doesn't end up working for you, well, then you're not going to be happy there. And one of the biggest things you got to realize is if you're not happy at work, well, then, it's going to affect everything else down the line.
I'm just going to summarize what they said. Like, I don't know what I want to do next. It's not just one person question. Everybody has the same question, and I think you should stick to what you think is best for you or what interests you, because there is two different things: what is best for me and what I like to do. And I prefer doing what I like. Sometimes it does not have as much benefits as what's best for me, but if you like something you do, your after work life is going to be much better than, because what I did first was not what I liked, what was best for me. So it was like I was stressed all the time. So once I started doing what I like, I think you have a good mindset, and that's what you would want future too.
Thanks for that. Great question. Do we have another question from the audience? Yeah, I'm going to give it to somebody else. Oh, thank you.
It's not really a question, but I just want to support what you just said. When I moved into Berry, I was like, I'm not seeing any accounting work. I tried to apply for accounting work. I'm not seeing any accounting work in Berry. Like, are you sure I can stay in this Berry? Later I finish, I'm moving out of Berry. But Berry is a very nice place to stay. I like the environment. But it's just because I'm not finding accounting work. But just within the couple of within this month, I've seen so many adverts in accounting in Berry. I was like, maybe because I was not patient enough. So now I'm giving the second thought, should I stay now or let me see? So from what she said, don't just put your mind like, oh, I can't. Like when you put more effort, yeah, I think we can see. So I'll still try to wait behind and see if I can get more accounting work and apply here in Berry before I leave.
Awesome. This might be a question for you, Avery, but since I'm a part of the Students Association too, and since you mentioned you were a part of the Students Association, so if you want to reflect back on your experience and how it impacted, like in your actual career.
A lot, everything, to be honest with you. I would say the most immediate thing is the soft skills, right? You're going to learn how to talk with people, how to be around people, how to appreciate people as well. But it's everything, right? It's a full 360 role. So there's leadership involved, there's social events, there's the food locker as well, right? Which is a completely integral resource and people rely on that. So I don't know if I appreciated how much I learned from that role until recently, when I was able to apply that in my professional career. So maybe I guess if I can give this advice to everyone as well, is if there's any ways to get involved on campus in any capacity, go for it. Honestly, you're going to learn a lot, and a lot more than you might realize from it as well. And it's going to really help you with transferable skills in honestly any career, especially with people. Does that answer your question?
And if campus is kind of a little bit in the rear view mirror now for you because you're very, very close to graduating, which many of you might be, remember Kevin mentioned get involved in your community. That's another wonderful place to test out some of those transferable skills and really see what you're good at. And as Avery said, try some things. Other thoughts? Questions? Edwin, I didn't give you a chance to answer that other one. Did you want to? You're good? Oh, is there one over there? All right. We have one from a staff member.
Hi, everyone. Thank you very much for your wonderful talk here. I think I may have missed very first part of your intro, maybe, and I don't think this is the first job after your graduation for each of you. Is that correct? I don't. Okay. I know it isn't for you. I don't think it doesn't seem like it's yours
for
either.
Vidi, it's the first one.
For Vidi is the first one. So maybe I think Vidi, you've been very successful and then awesome to keep your job from co-op. But for two of you, I guess, how did you land your very first job after graduation? And what are the tips for the almost graduating students that you can give?
I'd actually like to hear from Vidi too, though, if we could. How did you turn your co-op into a job anyway? Because it's actually not the same job.
So after applying to 100 places, I got a job interview. Honestly, I was so happy I got an interview. I was not expecting to get a job. It was just, I was so amazed by getting just an interview. So I tried to give my 100% to, I'm sorry, I'm going to stretch this out a little bit more because when I was young, I don't know what I wanted to do. I was early teen, I would say. And there was one job that fascinated me a lot was the job that people used to do with the coffee mug on the side. So I didn't really know what that meant, what that work was. And I think years later, I realized what I wanted to do was like a corporate job or something to do with computers. And I think I started doing computer programming and I started enjoying it. And once in an interview, they don't ask technical questions for the co-op student because if they would have, I don't know if I would be able to answer them. So when they asked me the questions, they were all soft skill one. And like Avery said, you need to know, you don't learn the soft skill, you have to build them, right? So I got the job and then they hired me for a 4-month co-op, right? But once I started doing it, I guess I gave my 100% because it was new field to me and I was putting so much into learning it. My work was acknowledged by my manager and then they created a new posting for me, which was an amazing thing that they could have done at that time. So I stayed with the same team for 2 years and then it started getting a bit consistent for me. And then I thought maybe I should start learning something new. And then I got a new job in the same company. And I think it's good to switch career, if not career, but switch your position in the same team, if not going over to different companies. It's good for you to build your resumes and your careers. It's good experience, learning with new team, learning from new people. And yeah, that's how I got my first job and I'm enjoying what I'm doing.
Yeah, so it wasn't my first, it's not my first career. I started in school. I did some entrepreneurial type positions. So I was doing contracting with startups and helping them as well. But I would say outside as an alumni, my first role was actually with Georgian. So I did a short contract with the innovation hub that we have here. And learned a lot. I didn't really know where I wanted to go at that point, so it was nice that I was able to use those skills to help Georgian as well. And if you're kind of feeling the same way, check with Georgian, check with departments here, right? There might be a contract that you can do once you're an alumni student. They're always willing to help, especially if you've built that rapport with people, right? So always remember that Georgian does have jobs. They have contracts. They're here to help as well if you're feeling a little bit lost. But I mean, advice that I would have to find that career, maybe I'll start with a quote. There's a quote that helped me a lot going through it. And the quote is that people are more worried about problems and the imagined anxiety about those problems, right? So you might have anxiety about job searching, and it's a hard thing to do, but remember that a lot of that anxiety is probably more your fear of the future, right? Just sit back and tell yourself what you're doing is not only courageous, but a lot of people have been through it as well, right? You have support systems, there are things in place. And so try to remember that anxiety is kind of a driving force, but don't let it overtake you. And remember about the networks you have. So for you, Georgian is a huge network, and then any other networks you have as well. There's always people to support you. It doesn't have to be a lonely and terrifying thing, job searching. There's always supports.
And that will come back in a few minutes as we wrap up the panel. But I would like to draw a connection between your two stories, because you were doing, Vidi, something courageous. You stepped out of your comfort zone for your first job at RBC, and you still worked your butt off, and they saw it, right? And so they were able to actually create something for you because you were fighting through and managing whatever, anxiety, as Avery said, whatever you were doing. So that's fantastic. Edwin, do you have any thoughts on that one?
So how I landed that landscaping job, little bit of networking, a little bit of right place, right time. So my neighbor had a slip and fall. So from there, he had called my dad and asked, hey, can Edwin help with some of the yard work? Like, okay, no problem. So we pointed everything that needed to be done. And as I was doing it, there was that landscaping company was across the street doing work, doing interlock. Finishing up, and then one of the guys kind of makes a comment, hey, maybe you should come work for us. And I just kind of looked over and was like, I'm just trying to get this done so my dad isn't mad at me. That's what I'm trying to do here. So end up finishing it all, go back home, get dressed. I get a call from one of the lads and like, hey, you want to go out for dinner, this, and I'm like, okay, perfect. So we go out for dinner, have a few drinks, and then same landscaping crew walks in. Same landscaping crew, and then they all point, that's the guy. And then the owner comes and he's like, man, you did a great job at your neighbor's house. Like, what are you doing this summer? Looking for work. He's like, you want to come work with us? And I'm like, oh, you guys were serious about that? Yeah. And I'm like, perfect. When do I start? See you tomorrow at the shop for 6:30. And my mouth just dropped because I'm looking. It's 9 o'clock. I'm like, you guys start that early? He's like, yeah. So that's how I got that first job.
That is a fantastic story. Thank you for sharing that. And so what I'll draw from that one and maybe connect it to Vidi's story as well is there was an opportunity presented and you jumped on it, right? Vidi had the opportunity and said, you know what, it may not be the perfect thing, but I'm going to give it my best shot. And so you did, which is amazing. So I think I'm looking at our MC. Do I have time for my last question? No, I'm supposed to try to wrap this up at 3:15. So my last question for our panelists is, and if we could have that microphone back up here, that'd be fabulous. Maybe I can go over here. What's one piece of advice that you'd like everybody in this room to hear?
Network with a purpose. Network with a purpose. Doesn't matter where you're going. This event right here, you've now seen everybody. You've all seen all the hands. It's a perfect time to exchange socials, exchange phone numbers, network with a purpose. There's times where, you might catch me out at Donnelly's. I have a two drink limit there. Do my thing, in all honesty. But I'm going there to network with a purpose. I'm not going there to let loose. I'm going to go talk to some people, meet potential clients, and make new friends. Everything when it comes to networking needs to be done with a purpose, or else, you're having too much fun.
Biddy?
For me, what I believe is have two life, one at work and one at home. Because if you mix two, uh, that's not what you want. Uh, don't, and one more thing that I would add to it is don't try to think your problem unless there is one. Because once you start thinking that, oh, I think this is going to cause a problem, and now I'm depressed, and the problem has not even occurred yet. So stop overthinking about things that have not yet happened, and separate your work and your life. So that's from me.
Thank you. Avery?
I think to kind of build on what we all said, because they're all very important and they kind of all tie in together, is enjoy yourself. Like, have fun with the process, right? Again, there is that hard part, and yes, going into the workforce is not an easy thing, but remember to enjoy yourself. People pick up on energy, right? Whatever the role is, doesn't matter if it's manufacturing or sales, people will pick up on that. And if you can have a good outlook on it, even in hard times, people are going to remember that, right? But peeling that back, enjoy yourself as well, right? We have a good life. This is a good place. There's a lot of opportunity. So just remember to enjoy it.
Thank you for that. So could I please ask you folks for a kind round of applause for our panelists? And John, can I trouble you to grab the gifts that are there in the podium? So thank you. And
Thank you, VD, Avery, Edwin, and Jen. Thanks for leading that panel. It was great. Just to take us home, I'm going to invite David Bell, Associate Vice President of Advancement and Alumni Relations, up for some finishing remarks. Thank you.
Thanks, John, and thank you so much for the three of you for sharing your story, your journey, some lessons to live by, and I loved all of your final words there, so they were great. I wrote them all down. You may see them in a newsletter in the future, so but it's really great to have you here, and we look forward to seeing you back on campus even more. I'm going to kind of jump around in my script here because I see a few people leaving, and I understand it is, the afternoon before a long weekend, and I don't want anybody else that came here on the student side to miss out, because we should have probably said what our prize was before we started. And it's pretty cool. It is a iPad Pro. Ooh, yeah, I feel like I'm on Price is Right or something here. This is great. And so, Sean, do you want to pull the lucky winner? There we go, please. No pressure on you. Yeah. Okay. Nimesh Kumar. Nimesh? Not here.
Okay, well, the phone numbers.
We've got a phone number here.
We can get in contact with
We will get in contact with Nimesh.
Right on.
All right, and this is sponsored by Johnson Insurance, our alumni affinity provider. So congratulations, Nimesh. And so just a few wrap up comments before you actually get the chance to go out and meet our colleagues here from Team Georgian who are here to talk about the services that they have to support you as you make your way towards the graduation stage. And as you heard throughout all of the comments today, Georgian really is here to support you as a student and as an alum. And so it's great. Actually, Avery made a great comment. He said that we like it when you reach out to us, and that's very particularly true in alumni. So reach out to us. We want to help you. We want to support your journey. We want to know about your success, and we want to continue to keep you connected with your alma mater. So there are groups in the back and on the side here, so please don't miss out on meeting those and figuring out how they can support you on this next journey. And we've got refreshments just off to the side here. There's a special treat for you as you leave. And again, I want to thank everybody from Team Georgian who contributed to this event today, to the leaders in career and co-op for coming up with this concept and inviting us all to collaborate with them. It's a great success, and we really look forward to more of these in the future. So have a great afternoon, and thank you, everyone.
All right, go mingle, and please take advantage of talking to Edwin and Viti and Avery. They're going to hang around for a while, so if you have questions specific to them, go ahead and ask them as well. Have a great afternoon, everyone. Take care.